Hello and welcome to another heartfelt episode of the Life Doula Podcast, where we delve into the powerful stories of love, resilience, and devotion amidst life's greatest challenges. I'm your host, Charity Marohomsar, and today we have a truly inspiring guest joining us. Our episode is titled Faith, Medicine, and Love, a urologist's devotion to medicine, faith, and his wife and family. In our modern world, balancing professional responsibilities and personal commitment often feels like walking a tightrope. Today's guest, a highly respected urologist, has managed to weave together the demanding threads of his medical career, his unwavering faith, and his deep love for his family with grace and devotion that's rarely seen. His story is a testament to the power of faith, the healing touch of medicine, and the boundless strength of love. Throughout this episode, we will explore the profound impact his faith has had on his practice, how he navigates his role as a devoted husband and father, and the lessons he's learned along this journey. So sit back, relax, and prepare to be moved by a story that highlights the heart of a healer, the spirit of a believer, and the love of a family man. Let's get started with our conversations on faith, medicine, and love. Today we have with us, and I'm really, really grateful because I know he's packed in terms of his schedule. It's the first day of the week. We'd like to welcome someone who's been part of Better Days and someone who has really supported all our initiatives. A friend, Dr. John Mark Garcia. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon,
Doc.
Charity. Thank you for having me.
Doc Mark, can you start by sharing a little bit about your background? You're a urologist. What led you to pursue being a physician and specializing in urology? And the second question is how your faith has unfolded alongside with your medical practice.
The main inspiration really was my dad. So, my dad was a neurologist, so he specializes in the brain. And growing up, I was exposed in his clinic. I would be having my afternoon naps in his clinics while he was talking to his patients. I'd see him exposed to a lot of patients, and you gradually see that inspiration, if I may say, that you see him help people. And most importantly, maybe those random people that walk up to him in the mall saying, "Thank you, you helped my dad, you helped my mom." Seeing that made me feel like, okay, being a doctor looks nice. You're able to help a lot of people.
Okay.
And yun, I think nothing major or nothing drastic,
Grand,
or nothing grand that that suddenly inspired me to become a physician, but more of that continuous exposure to that type of environment. And yun, it was really the influence from my dad.
And really being exposed to the world that he is in. So what I hear is what drove you to become a physician and later on a urologist is really that desire to come from a place of service. And this is not so different from, as a matter of fact, it's so connected with how you have really balanced your life as a physician, your life as a disciple and follower of Christ, and your life as a husband and as a dad to two boys, right? So your faith has been very how do I say it's very pronounced because Alisa would post stories about you guys being very active in your Bible studies, right? How do you marry that in your profession as a physician?
That's a very nice question. And also that question, the answer to that question, it took years for me to develop a good answer for that. I think at the beginning, everything was compartmentalized. Work was work, family was family, church activity was church activity. And then you'll realize na that's not your identity as a person. You're not doctor from 8 to 5, dad from 5 p.m. onwards, and then church goer on Saturdays and Sundays. You are dad, you're a doctor, you're church goer every day, 24 hours. So finding that balance was really understanding na no, no, no. You're not a doctor as a work. You're not a doctor to make money. You became a doctor to serve.
Okay.
And that part of that service is also service to God. So there you get already the mix of both work and your Christian service. That you're not a Christian for Saturday and Sunday. You're supposed to be able to influence anyone that comes to you in your clinic. Because you're a Christian, you're representing Christ every day, 24 hours a day. And then comes family. Also in family, I'll be able to expose them to a Christian life, not from 5 p.m. onwards, but doing it from work, if I ever bring my son to work, that I want to see them that, no, 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 you can actually act as a Christian doctor, talking about Christ while you're diagnosing with their whatever disease they may have. Be it very serious, be it very common, be it very simple. You're always able to influence and give them that, oh, okay, I'll give you this medicine, but we still pray about it. This is your disease, this can be treated medically, but let's include Christ in this treatment. Then that you have that mix now of the three.
Wow.
You're medical physician, you're able to influence and actually bring people to Christ. Because this is the medical field actually. Some people may have that feeling of being very in need. And they think that the doctor is what they need. True, they do need that doctor. And true, that doctor can help. But also in that need, they may also need that spiritual healing, that emotional healing, that church and Christ, be church community and Christ, will be the tool, or will be the actual means to actually address that healing.
Wow. That's not very common. We have very few doctors who are able to incorporate and use your platform, because I believe God sends us people. God sends people your way. And what I'm hearing is you're using your platform as a physician to be able to help them medically, but to also bring them to
Sure.
God.
And that didn't arrive early in my practice. No,
Okay.
that realization only occurred to me after the diagnosis with Eliza.
Let's talk about Dr. Alisa.
Yeah.
Dr. Alisa, I met her. I now cannot remember how I met. She reached out to me. She was then diagnosed as a patient. She's now a survivor. The kind of relationship we had was just because one of the things that I always tell my clients is prayer and faith is part of my coaching program. At the onset, I say that because I feel that this is my mission, so I have to put that in front. So if there are clients who are not willing to work with me because of faith and prayer, then that's a no deal. So when I met Dr. Alisa, it was like, old friends meeting. And I provided a safe space. And, in those sessions that we have, 1 hour is not enough, because at the time she was discerning if she was gonna pursue her residency or take a leave. So we prayed together, we discerned, and finally she decided, this is my season to be with God, to grow with God, and those 5 months were, I think, incredible season in both your life as a couple and as a family, right?
Yeah, that was a really well-deserved leave for her. And I also started to look at her in a different light. Meaning, I held her in a different importance. Immediately after she was diagnosed, I saw her cry. I saw her weak. I saw her very vulnerable. So my initial response as the husband and as a father of two kids, it was really to suppress everything. I cannot have emotions. Let's deal with this as a doctor.
Academically.
Let's deal with this as a segmented doctor. We'll compartmentalize this. This is the treatment. This is what the book says. Let's deal with the treatment. Let's move forward. Whatever the diagnosis will become, let's look for the statistics on the cancer-free survivals, on the overall survival rates. We'll deal with it that way. It was really a time of suppress the emotions, allow my wife to cry, allow my wife to be weak, but do not be weak.
Wow.
Hold it in. Because for my response, that you can't both be weak. For
One will have to be strong.
yeah, especially when I told our oldest, he was 14 by that time. So I told him first. I didn't tell my wife yet. So I told him that your mom is diagnosed with breast cancer. It was a very honest response from him. And then he said, his first question was, is she gonna die?
Wow.
And I was taken aback by that question, but I, of course, assured him, no, I will not let that happen to your mom. We will do everything that we can, and I will take care of her. So, to answer that, really, the first response was to suppress everything, create a team,
Wow.
look for the...
Organized.
Yeah, because upon diagnosis, we were able to mobilize everything. She had definitive surgery immediately after 2 weeks upon diagnosis, already planned for her future treatment, be it chemotherapy and other tests that had to be done abroad. So really, it was really suppression and just really grit.
What was the tipping point? When did you start realizing that you cannot just approach this academically, but you need to be able to support your wife emotionally? What was the tipping point in the journey?
There were a lot of tipping points, really. The scariest part of it really was at 33 years old, I didn't expect to, at 33 years old, my wife was diagnosed at 33 years old.
Wow.
I didn't expect to consider the possibility of losing her. I was already fantasizing on the travels, on
Yeah.
enjoying our kids. That was the conversations we had over dinner. Not dealing with this. So that was one of the major influences on suppression. With regards tipping point on being more vulnerable, being honest about my feelings. While she was ongoing treatment, I also started to have more cancer patients. The tipping point was having a lot of young cancer patients. Then you see them vulnerable to you.
Yeah.
And then you realize you are in an industry wherein you can be really used.
Yeah.
You are in an industry wherein you're actually really needed, not just as someone to treat cancer, but someone to help a husband with a wife going through something, with a family who will be going through something. You are there as a mediator to help the family members cope with something. You're there to actually connect these people to their faith, their spirituality. So the tipping points were the influx of young patients who are being diagnosed with cancer. And then that's when I realized, no, suppression is not,
It's
it's
not
not
the way.
the way.
Yeah.
It's really, I should make myself vulnerable to these people also, so that they can understand that, okay, he went through this, and vulnerability is okay.
Yeah.
So we can also be vulnerable. And then that's when I told myself, okay, being compartmentalized in medicine does not work. I should treat the patients, not just the patients, but also accommodate the
families, yeah.
family,
Yeah.
also accommodate the loved ones, and that's how everything started.
You know, in that segment of our conversation, my first takeaway is you actually realize that your journey with Dr. Alisa allowed you to be able to hold space for other patients.
Yes.
And this is what I believe in truly, that your work, her journey, allowed you both to make the invisible God visible in other people's life. I remember having this conversation with Alyssa, and she was telling me that because of her cancer journey, you both are now saying we will approach our practice differently. And this has been one of my biggest advocacies, really shifting from a more disease-centric way of treatment to a more patient-centric. Because when you mentioned, I'm not just going to hold space for the patient, but also accommodate the family, right? So, Doc, the balancing act of the very demanding, like I know that over the years, parang you even had to let go of some clinics,
Yes.
right? So balancing a demanding medical career with family life is challenging. How do you manage to maintain? Because I see you really carving time for Sev, for your and finding ways to be able to go out of town and be able to be with your D group and still do work. How do you juggle all of this?
I'd have to say, really just a different mindset. As a young doctor, you're inspired by the work of older doctors with regards to the success they build in their career. And that's the inspiring part, because that's what we see in the hospital. But growing older, um, and realizing that work is not everything in life, it was then that I was able to prioritize and understand what really is priority in life.
What matters?
What matters more. Of course, career matters. But then this episode with Eliza, realizing how finite things can be
True.
and how certain moments can change everything suddenly. Balancing act is really just prioritization. Career is important, but I would have to say that we have to prioritize God. It may sound cliche. It may sound, as I mentioned, it's really cliche, and I'm sure a lot of people have said that. But realizing the finite or the finality of things, you really have no other response but understanding how important God is. And then of course family. So if anything work comes up, but there's family activity, I have to prioritize family.
Wow. I see you really going out of your way to find different great places to either bring Alyssa, but it's always with the whole family.
Yeah.
And I see from a third person looking at your life, I see you really building a lot of memories with your children and with your
Yeah,
wife.
thank you for saying that for me. Because I mean, what's the purpose of having lots of work, making money for 1 week, and then the next week you have no one to spend that with?
Yeah.
So prioritize God.
family.
Prioritize family. And then actually next, I would have to prioritize health.
Yeah.
Again, what's the purpose of having money and having career if your health deteriorates?
Yeah.
So I guess the fourth priority would be the career then.
Yeah.
So it's really not a juggling act, more of really just prioritizing and setting what's more important for you. So yes, canceled a lot of clinics, canceled Saturdays. Saturdays are usually the busy days for doctors because there's no work for a lot of people. So more people can come to the clinics. But then I canceled Saturdays because that's going to be family day. So I try my best to spend time with my kids, especially when our son was 4 years old. He started to demand that since he has no school on Saturday, so he started to ask, Dad, why do you have work on Saturday?
Dapat
So it's like,
pareho tayong walang trabaho. No?
yes. So Saturday is play day or Saturday is gym day with my wife. So that's the time we spent together. So really, it was just prioritizing and realizing what's more important.
You know, what I admire about how you say it and really actually saying, because like I'm in the front seat of your journey with your wife, is the intention. You are intentional about where to put your energy. You are intentional about making sure that God comes first. Certain days for studying God's word, certain days with the people who believe in the same things that you do, and being intentional about spending time with your wife, whether it be taking her out of country with you on work, or taking the whole family, or just being in the gym with Alisa, or having play dates with Zeb, right?
Yes.
So I think the word that I see is really intention. That's not even balancing.
Yes.
It's putting out what really is important to you. And I guess when one declares that God is my number one, everything else becomes second, third, or fourth. I believe that God also helps you navigate through that, right?
True. Sadly, in our clinic practice, we try to limit the time interaction we have with patients. That way, we're able to manage our time, we're able to see more patients. That's the sad reality of the practice of medicine. But lately and now, I've tried my best to practice that if patients are cancer-related patients, I really take my time with them. Somehow, and I don't know how, but it hasn't been that difficult. The influx of patients have been there, and I've been able to manage my time. So, true enough, I think with the intention of putting God first, putting your patients first, allowing your patients to know God, God's there also to help you out.
Of course, when you manifest and declare it, somehow God finds a way to support your intention.
Yes.
Right? What are some significant lessons of faith that has taught you to apply both in your medical career and in your life? I mean, obviously, the diagnosis of Dr. Alisa, her treatment journey has, as you said, given you that this is my plan, I want to travel with my kids, and all of a sudden it's altered. But how were you able to bring that to your practice?
For that question, I actually asked some of my friends in church as well. My question was, how do I pray for a patient? Example, the case is you have this type of cancer. I'm here to operate on you so that I can remove that cancer, so that you can have healing. But at the same time, I want to pray for you for healing. I ask myself, would the patient now begin to doubt me and the treatment that I'm trying to give him or her because I'm praying for healing?
Yeah.
Is the treatment not sufficient? Do you really need prayer? I thought I came to you as a doctor because I wanted to be healed, not to be prayed for.
Yeah.
So now I explain this to my patients this way. So statistically, this is the treatment plan for you. But of course, again, treatment does not only stay with your cancer. Treatment for your body, yes, we can actually, statistically speaking, that can be healed. But I also want to go through your emotional pains, through your faith goals, through your spiritual pains.
Wow.
This is where healing can ensue, especially for my stage 4 cancer patients. I will admit to them that treatment is only limited to this. Statistically speaking, we are limited to this. I will try my best to help you as to what Western medicine has proven. And beyond that, I will still step in faith to believe that healing can still exist. Even here in the 21st century, I will believe that healing can still happen. And should you be healed, despite statistics telling us na it's impossible, and then we have a very magnificent testimony.
Yes.
So there's that mixture of faith, of 21st century medicine, and then just presenting that idea to the patient. As you mentioned, if they do not agree with that, okay, I will respect that decision. I will treat you with whatever Western medicine is able to give you. I will give you statistics. I will give you journals. I will help you out in the most modern way possible. If that's your decision. But if you would let me, let's journey in faith together.
Wow.
Let's do healing together.
That's so beautiful.
Regardless of religion, this is not a matter of, I
Yes.
want you to join my church. No.
It's
this
really
is a faith journey.
Yes, it's
I
a
want
faith journey.
you and God to walk together, that you're able to call Him out in this time of weakness. So I think that's how we mix 21st century medicine with faith.
My hope is that somewhere in the medical curriculum, all these things are put together. Because my doctor, who's also a friend, would say, believe the diagnosis, but leave room for God in the prognosis.
That's
right?
very nice.
Prognosis may be bad, but there's a lot of things beyond medical capabilities, and allow God to step in. That's such a beautiful thing, and I hope somewhere in the medical curriculum that will be included. Medical hat and believer's hat. In those moments when you were caring for Dr. Alisa, did you find yourself relying more medically or faithfully, meaning relying more on your faith in the healing powers of God?
Medically, the downside with medical treatment is it's really based on statistics. You have 90% chance for cure. And that's a very nice statement, 90% chance. But there is no assurance that you are part of the 90 or you're part of the 10. I think that's where faith comes in. Lord, please put me in the 90. Let your will be done, but please put me in the 90. I know a lot of people will tell you na, hindi, statistically, 90. Malamang sa malamang kasama ka dun eh. 90 eh. But then again, who gives that certainty that you'll be part of the 90?
Yeah.
How do you assure the patient you will be part of the 90? You actually can't. Because you actually give them the same treatment plan, and then just pray, please, allow me to be part of the 90. So I think that's where
The
those
balance,
hats
the
come
balance come in. We have had a great class with Dr. Mark Garcia, and you have been known to be an advocate of early detection, especially that in your specialization comes the one of either second or third in the rank of cases of cancer, which is prostate. You have been an advocate of early detection.
Yes.
Can you talk more about that?
So for prostate cancer screening, we always advise for men 45 years and above, early screening is very easy. It's just a matter of going to the doctor, having an interview, and us, the urologist, will be the one to help decide together with the patient, not just decide the doctor alone, but together with the patient to decide for screening. Screening for prostate cancer is very easy. You just take a blood test called PSA. A simple blood test, no fasting needed. You have the results after 6 or 8 hours, or some laboratories after 24 hours. And then, right then and there, you can have a risk stratification of, are you at risk of having prostate cancer or not? That easy. It's done for men aged 45 to 50 yearly. If you're 45 and up, you have this test done once a year, and that's it. Early detection is that easy for prostate cancer. But should it be positive, that's when we start that's when we start trying to diagnose should that patient be really, does that patient have prostate cancer or not. That's when we do the succeeding plans. But should you have a normal result, you don't need to undergo any other tests.
And I want to be very upfront with this. And I tested this in my own family. Like 5 of my family members who are 40 and above, and it's almost zero that they will volunteer to have themselves screened because of this stigma that the only way to detect prostate cancer is through the invasive procedure of, Doc, what do you call that?
We call that a digital rectal examination. And admittedly, no man would want any other man to put his gloved finger into his rectal area. Okay? So that is part of the diagnosis of prostate cancer. That is part of screening for prostate cancer. Yes, that's true. But mind you, the benefit of early diagnosis is way greater than that stigma of somebody examining
Parang
your
feeling
prostate.
violated.
It's a very easy examination. It's not painful, and it's not that we do that to every person. You come in, we do it right away. No, interview comes first. Do you have the risk factors? Does this need to be done to you? Talk to your doctor. Have that that desire to have early screening, should it be necessary. And we will not do anything unnecessary to the patient. But it's
Rest assured.
It's really not a painful one. It's not a traumatic experience. It only takes about 15 to 30 seconds, and the benefit is
15 to 30 seconds. You are not going to be violated.
not going to be violated.
Doc Mark, there is now, I don't know if it's new, but there is prostate MRI.
So prostate MRI is only indicated for men who are under suspicion for prostate cancer.
Okay.
Should you have anything wrong with your PSA, or should you have anything wrong with a digital rectal examination, that's only the time we do the MRI.
So they cannot, jump from PSA to MRI.
We do have some patients who are either one, they'll tell us, my dad had prostate cancer, my brother has prostate cancer. Can you please do this MRI for me? I cannot sleep if I don't do MRI.
Okay.
Might as well do it. But if your patient comes saying, I have my father has prostate cancer, my brother has prostate cancer, my PSA is normal, that's not necessary.
Oh,
But
okay.
please come back to me every year. In the event that your PSA elevates, by all means, I'll do the MRI. So the MRI is only indicated if there are markers or indications to do it.
So there are levels of tests.
Yes.
And the most basic screening is the blood test.
The blood test and the rectal examination.
So look at it this way. Women would have to undergo this procedure where they feel we're also violated, which is the mammogram. And you have males go through this digital rectal examination. So let's call it even.
Actually, for men, it's easier.
Really?
Because for women, you palpate the breast, the mammogram can be painful.
It is painful.
because they really compress on it. In men, it's really just a blood test and then a gloved finger with lubricant, and then we just palpate. Men have it easier. It's just that men don't want to be tested, sadly.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we really do advocate. It's a very simple procedure. It's a very simple test. You can be in and out of the clinic in 3 to 5 minutes as long as everything's normal, and you can do that just once a year.
Here at Better Days, we really advocate early detection for breast cancer and early detection for prostate cancer, because these are two cancer types that's very prevalent in the Philippines
Yes, it is.
and globally.
And treatable for prostate cancer. Treatable as long as we get it at stage 1 or stage 2. So that's really the advocacy there.
So if you ever even get detected with prostate cancer at an early stage, it's not a death sentence.
It's
That's not
a
what you're
death
saying.
sentence. So should you have it, it's very important it's caught early. And the only way to catch it early is through screening. Because sometimes prostate cancer does not have symptoms.
Oh.
So since there's no symptoms, they don't go to the doctor. And the only reason they will go to the doctor is for screening. So very
Wow.
important.
And again, cancer presentation usually does not have pain, right?
Yes.
So really keeping in mind that you need to be healthy and you need to go through these tests at a certain age or earlier if you have it in your family history. Then consult a urologist. Step beyond your fear, because we have been assured by the good doctor that it won't take so much time.
It won't.
And have you had success stories of early detection and cure?
Yes, a lot of stories. For early detection, especially for patients who had siblings, a brother who had early or young prostate cancer, and then the other brother does screening, and he was also detected with prostate cancer. So you're able to give less invasive treatment modalities.
Wow.
And of course, we do have those sad stories wherein they already knew that their father had prostate cancer. They were already told to have early screening, but then it's not that they were scared, more of they just brushed it off.
Yeah.
And then 10 years down the road, they realized that they also have it.
Being a cancer survivor has taught me one lesson. Health does not mean you're not feeling anything, right? It's actually when you don't feel anything that you need to have all the healthy habits, including getting checked or having your annual physical tests, right? Dr. Mark, you've taken us through the journey of love and faith, and of course, your platform as a doctor. Let's look at the future. What are your aspirations for your medical career and for your personal life?
The aspirations really is to actually encourage more doctors to be more sensitive. Sometimes in the training in the medical career, you're actually desensitized to the word cancer. Cancer becomes a statistic because you see too many patients and they just become a statistic. The chances are they're going to be okay. Oh, this is too bad. This person is going to pass away in 6 to 12 months. Patients do not need a very strict doctor who comes into their clinics just with information. They are in a vulnerable state. And I really would want to influence doctors to learn to put themselves in the shoes of patients or in the shoes of caregivers, caretakers, or the
Love giver.
love givers. And then help them out.
Beyond the tumor, beyond the diagnosis, is really acknowledging the person behind the diagnosis and the people that are affected with the diagnosis.
Yes.
But my question, Dr. Mark, is there somewhere in the system is there a way to be able to quote unquote institutionalize this kind of approach, or it depends on the doctor type of?
Sadly, it depends on the doctor. Because as a doctor, we are obligated to follow guidelines. And that's how it should be. Doctors should follow guidelines. Doctors should follow statistics. Doctors should follow evidence. And this approach of injecting faith, this approach of encouraging talk therapy, sadly, this is not in guidelines.
Wow.
This is on your conviction as a physician, on what you believe in, on what you believe in as part of treatment for the patient and the family. So really the advocacy there is to really influence people and influence doctors, especially the young doctors.
Yeah.
To have that patience. Don't step out of the room in 2 or 3 or 5 minutes. Don't be in a rush.
Yeah.
Take time. You'd be surprised that these patients will actually appreciate you more, that you're staying in their rooms for 30 minutes. You'd be surprised on how life-changing for them staying for that extra 20 minutes is. For that small talk you gave them, it's life-changing for those patients.
Yeah, and even if at that moment you're delivering a bad news, but patients feel they are seen, they are heard by the doctor, is truly, truly healing for them. I have heard patients talk about appreciating the kind of approach that you do. And they would always say, even if a bad news was delivered, I didn't feel alone because my doctor really sat with me and allowed me to also feel and talk. Now you mentioned faith. How do you see your faith panning out as you try to change the way patients are treated, as you try to grow your family? How do you see your faith playing out in your life?
It's really understanding, like the earlier questions about prioritization. It's really understanding that God comes first. Even with the treatment that you want to give a patient, you know that, yes, you want to give that treatment to them. But at the same time, you want God to be in there. So especially for those serious cases, especially for cancer cases, that yes, you're able to give the definitive treatment, but always include the power or the moving of God. Allow the patients to actually believe in healing, that it would be God to give the healing, not our surgical procedure, not our treatments, but entirely we are just a vessel or a tool that was also sent by God to actually do this procedure, to facilitate healing, and for that healing to be a movement or to be a tool for that patient as well. One is to get healed, and number two is to bring that person back to God.
Or closer to God.
Or closer to God.
Wow.
So that event would be very life-changing again for that patient. And that would be, the patient would testify that, no, it was not Dr. Garcia that healed me. No, it was God that healed me. Dr. Garcia was just a tool. Or it was God that healed me. Medical technology or medical practice or the doctors were just a tool.
So what I'm hearing is, because God is number one for you, this is what is being called upon us, that we decrease as God increases in our life. Is that what your faith will be all about in the next coming years?
Yes. Maybe we've heard in movies particularly, we have a lot of series with medical doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Quote unquote, they have that God factor.
Yeah.
wherein they can deliver the healing. Me personally, I want to reverse that stigma. Not for the patients, but for the doctors. Reverse that stigma. You are not God. No matter how good you will become, no matter how advanced our technology will become,
Even if you are sent to Stanford or Mayo Clinic,
you will always have limitations as in you as a human being. You will not be able to heal everything. You will not be able to commit that there will be absolutely zero complications. I'm that good. No complications. There's no such commitment. At the end of the day, what God allows, what God permits, that's what's going to happen. So I think that that concept of your humanity, bringing the human factor back to the doctors,
yeah,
so that not only is the patient dependent on God, but also the doctor is dependent on God.
That's a wow. All I can say is wow. What an incredible and inspiring conversations we had with Dr. Mark Garcia today. I thank you for trusting the space that we have created. I thank you for your vulnerability. And I hope that there will be more of the kind of approach that you have. I don't know if there's a mentorship program in medicine. I will try in my space to be able to, just keep reaching out to doctors to be able to really see the person behind the diagnosis and not just look at them as patient numbers. As we draw this episode to a close, let's reflect on 3 significant highlights that stood out. Integration of faith and medicine. Dr. Garcia beautifully illustrated how his faith not only guides his personal life, but also deeply influences his approach to patient care through sharing specific instances. He reminded us how spirituality can play a critical role in decision making and patient interactions. Second, advocacy for early screening and detection. Dr. Garcia's dedication to advocating for the early detection and screening of prostate cancer is truly, truly needed and admirable. We learned about the importance of this screening, that it can only take 3 to 5 minutes, and how these efforts are making a tangible difference in the lives of the patient. And of course, the journey with his beautiful wife, Alyssa, in her cancer diagnosis really underscored the importance of balancing professional expertise with personal support, and more importantly, how he brought in faith in the whole journey. Dr. Garcia's experience revealed how one can navigate such challenges through a blend of medical knowledge and unwavering faith. Thank you again, Doc Mark, for being with us. We hope you found today's episode as enlightening and as inspiring as we all did. And to our listeners, keep in mind the power of integrating your faith into your professional life, whatever it is that you're doing, the importance of advocating for early health screening, and always cherishing the support from your loved ones. Until next time, stay inspired and take care.